You're listening to All About Girls of Color podcast, a space dedicated to creating environments that allow girls to thrive. We explore issues and solutions that focus on removing obstacles so the natural joy and genius of girls can bloom. Join us as we dive into conversations all about girls of color and the women they become.
I'm Tinesia Conwright, the founder and executive director of Detour Empowers and the Fancy Teen Girls Leadership Academy.
I'm Gabriela Delgado, an educator and principal consultant for Saving Our Starfish.
And I'm Janedra Sykes, an equity, diversity, and inclusion certified organizational development coach and consultant and a partner in Arboreta Group.
Disclaimer. Our intention is to bring our whole selves to the conversations by bringing our professional and personal selves to each episode. Any views or opinions on the podcast are personal and belong solely to the creators and do not represent those of people, institutions, or organizations that the creators may or may not have been associated with in a professional or personal capacity unless explicitly stated.
Welcome to the final episode of All About Girls of Color for Season 1. It won't be the end of us, but we're reaching the end of our journey for Season 1. So the special host are us, our three facilitators. So yes,
This is how we started.
so full circle, right?
Yes.
We started sharing a little bit about ourselves. So we're going to, in this episode, share parts of our journey in this process, reflect on the different amazing episodes that we had, and plant some seeds for Season 2 for all of you. So with that said, we are going to go ahead and get started. We are achievers, and we did a little homework assignment as we did in the first episode. So the homework assignment for this episode was really just spending some time reflecting on the season, the process that we went through, lessons learned, hiccups that we encountered, what resonated the most with us. So maybe we can start there. One of our questions was, what resonated the most with you in this first season? So Janedra and Tinesia, do you all want to take it away and share with us what resonated with you? It's been a journey, but what really hit home the most?
You know, I want to go first, but my son reviewed my performance on this podcast, and he told me I talk too much. So
This one's for you.
So this one, I'm going to let Tinesia go, just to show him that, yes, I can take in feedback and make adjustments.
So Tinesia, what resonated the most with you?
Well, we have some dynamic folks who are a part of our network. So that is definitely the main thing that resonated. We are amongst great people doing great work. And we are not done learning.
Yeah.
Because the process of putting together a podcast from start to finish has been a journey, a very interesting journey. And we are now, I think, a bit more technical than we ever thought we would be.
Or wanted to be.
Right.
Thank God for YouTube videos, right?
Yes, exactly. So just remembering our why, and allowing that to lead us into places we never thought we would go. Yeah, that's the main thing that has resonated with me, is just all the great things that have come from this collaborative.
Yeah.
I would agree with you. For me, so similar to that was just the eclectic diversity of the women that we had. Every episode was a little bit different, but they were all similar in that they were genuine conversations. Nothing was pre-scripted. There was very little to no editing actually done. So when we hit record and we go all the way through. So you're getting a pretty authentic feel.
Yeah.
And not to say that for other podcasts maybe you just need to do that, but it worked really well. I think we all have a chemistry, and we worked really hard on having our guests feel comfortable to just share and talk about some some topics that I know were heavier than others, but for me, it resonated the most that it was just everybody had a very different style and story, but it always came back to common themes around wanting to lift up girls of color and women of color doing this work every day in the trenches. And so for me, it was a humbling experience to just connect with others, to feel like I'm not alone in wanting to be an advocate in this. And so it felt good. So I'll leave it there. There were a lot of lessons learned that I walked away with, but that's what really stood out to me the most, is that diversity with everyone that was here, and the passion that they brought, just the love that they brought, the way that they spoke about their work. I just was, again, just humbled to hear about that. That stood out to me.
Yeah. And to kind of build on that, for me is, and I'm just amazed every time I need to relearn this over and over again, being the introvert that I am, is the importance of having support systems. And I think we clicked with our guests because we share a same vision, like slightly different ways, but to be in an atmosphere of like-minded, passionate women was energizing. Usually when I'm around a lot of people, I'm tired when I go home. But this fed me, and I'm very grateful for that. So just as our girls need healthy, supportive support systems, us women need that too in order to do that work. Right. So that kind of resonated with me, and a lot of our discussions was, there's a lot of head nodding and yes from some people. We only knew 5 minutes, but it was that click.
Right. If you remember Dr. Emily San Diego, I can't think of the particular number, the order in which we launched her episode, but she talked about going through her doctoral program and being a group that's underrepresented in doctoral studies, and so needing to partner with mentors that provided that type of growth for her. So I appreciated Dr. San Diego sharing that perspective. And I know Asia Jones also shared with us, right, the importance of looking for mentors, and when you don't have them, you got to create your own. And she did that through music and writing and journaling, right? So that was a common theme that kept coming up for us, right? It's that if you don't have those systems, then how do you begin to create them for yourself? Yeah. So that you can continue on that path of growth.
Yeah, and then how do you utilize the tools that you have to get you through, like the music that she spoke of, and using music as healing, and also, just ways to connect with other people through music, and allowing people to tell their story through song, and all of that was just amazing because they're just non-traditional or traditional, depending on the way you look at it. Tools for learning and tools for connection.
Yeah. And I don't want us to forget to mention, so Asia Jones' episode is episode 5, if you haven't had a chance to listen to that one. But Tinesia, you shared with us an update regarding her story that I think
she
we should
is
mention.
now Dr. Asia Jones.
Woo-hoo!
Yes, so she defended her dissertation 2 weeks ago successfully, and now is moving on to the next phase of excellence.
So if you're listening to this episode, we should have said, spoiler alert. We're going to give you an update outside.
We're going to put your business in the street, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I want to make sure we give her that shout out, because that's great. It's amazing. What about a particular episode that might have had the most impact on you personally? Is that something you all had a chance to give some thought to?
Yeah. I think it was Shelley Baxter's putting the us in history, kind of thinking about your ancestry in another way, because I've really been resistant. I like to stay in the present and the future. I've been resistant to learning about my family tree. But she changed my mind, because the past and the present is interconnected. And I think I would be much more impactful in my work if I understood my family tree a bit better, the attractive parts as well as the not so attractive parts.
So what about you? What was the most, I mean, I know it's hard to pick just one, but is there one that?
All of them. So Renita Ray's episode on schools as a hostile institution for girls, that really challenged my thinking, because I have a different way of looking at the way that programming is done, and making sure that it's culturally relevant and that it makes sense to me, and I'm a representative of my community. But she just kind of took it to the next level for those that may not be from communities such as mine, you know. It just gave us that continual reminder of things that we can do and ways that we can make sure that the environment that we're providing is inclusive of all, and not making anyone feel like they don't belong or they're not good enough or ... So that one was good for me.
Yeah. I like the way that she talked about the systemic nature of it. We're so focused on the individual choices, but to put our girls of color within the context of their environment is really a paradigm shift. And, you know, and she's just said it. Blunt things.
Yes, I
she
love
just
that
said,
about her.
You know, it was no sugarcoating. It was boom. And I just thought that was fabulous.
Yeah. And of course, Keisha's episode.
Oh, yeah.
That's my girl.
The 40-year-old. In the teenage body.
Right. But we're so proud of her and, you know, all that she's accomplished and how far she's come. And her college acceptance letters are coming in. We're still waiting on the big one. So, you know, that was almost, it is a manifestation of a dream come true, you know, just sitting here staring at me. So that one was, of course, one of my favorites. Yeah.
Of course. For me, it was the Everything is Attainable. So that's episode 10 that featured Dr. Joanna Moya Fabregas from the Con Mi Madre program out in Austin, Texas. So if you've listened to that one, you heard my ugly cry. When she started speaking about the connection to parents and exposing them, it just really hit home for me in a way where you saw, I mean, I physically was just like, I couldn't fight back the tears because it took me back to growing up with my parents thinking, how did they do this as immigrants with very limited resources? And I'm thinking, damn, they did good because they've got 4 college educated daughters who got themselves through school. And it's like I was having this almost like out of body experience moment when I was hearing her speak because I could see things that we experienced as kids, having to translate at parent conferences from my mom, you know, getting lost to find our way to San Diego State when we were dropping off my sister. Now, mind you, we live in San Diego. We got lost. We didn't have a Thomas guide. We didn't have GPS. My parents had never been. And those were big moments. And now when I think back, I think, wow, we did all of that. And so when she was speaking, I thought, man, the work that she's doing with families, moms and dads, and uncles and tias, it's not just a mom-daughter program. That really, for me, like, it just hit home in such a beautiful way that I couldn't help but, you know, you all me, I'm pretty emotional already, but I was just like, oh my gosh, it's just like, just the appreciation that at that moment I felt for what my parents were able to do with, again, very limited education, that I think, wow, I am, as cheesy as it's going to sound, I am that American dream that people talk about.
Yeah,
like,
you are.
You know? Yeah. And sometimes I think you kind of forget it because you're just like, you're going about your business. But when she was speaking, I had such admiration for her. I almost felt like, I feel like we're related somehow, or your family. I just felt this connection. Yeah. I can't explain that. So her own story and just the key messages that she was giving. I went home just really thinking about that. I remember on the drive home that day just thinking, dang, I'm just a very blessed person. And I'm very grateful for everyone who helped me on that journey. Of course, including my oldest sisters and my parents.
Yeah.
I thought that, I don't know where I would be. Sometimes I think about that. I love visiting Mexico. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful country. But when I think of what my life would have been had my parents not moved here, I wouldn't be where I am today. Yeah. And so, it's difficult sometimes for me when I travel there because you see immense poverty. And I think I don't know what that is like. Yeah. Growing up poor in the U.S. is not the same as growing up poor in a developing country. It's different, right? And so, you're kind of torn where you think, wow, I'm just very blessed and grateful that I was able to have a different life. But it came at the cost that my parents experienced. So, that one really hit home.
Yeah. And I think the good thing about the situation is that your parents took the first step. Mm-hmm. They didn't know where they were going, but they got in the car, right? Yeah. And it's like, we know it's somewhere round about the
somewhere out there.
Yeah. And so I think as program providers, as educators, we need to realize and recognize when parents take the first step.
And how scary that can be.
Exactly. And have support for them as well as the child. Because we often focus so much on the child that we don't think about the support that they need in order to, to make it through the day, basically. Right. And so it's not only the child that needs support, but it's the parent that needs support as well. And how can you gather resources to support the parents? If only even putting the parents in their own little space so that they can talk. That's a big thing for us.
That was a big thing about her work, was working with the family, so they feel empowered to show up on campus.
Yeah.
I remember, years and years ago, early on in my career, I was scheduling some parent workshops at an elementary school, and there were parents who were newcomers to the country. Maybe some had been here a few years. Most of them hadn't. They were taking their night courses to learn English, but most of them were nowhere near where they were fluent. And we were doing workshops to help empower them to provide support to each other as parents. And I remember having very traditional Latino men in the room, came with their sombreros and their big belt buckles. And I'm like, but they're coming to this school, so this is really cool. Yeah. And I remember some moms that were a little quieter. One of them said, well, I don't know why, we're here, and I said, because this whole series is to help you actually work with other parents. And I remember one of them said, but I don't have an education. I don't, and almost like saying I don't know anything. And so I looked at her and said, you're going to be paired with parents to just talk about what it's like to be a parent. You have a PhD in that. Yeah. I said, you know more than these people running around the school, because no one knows your child the way you do. And you've navigated certain paths. So that's why hearing Joanna's story about that empowerment from parents, I thought, that's where it's at. You don't make true impact with someone when you're not looping in the family component. Like you're saying, Tinesia, right? It's like we gotta make sure that our systems are including that parent and extended family piece, because that makes a big difference in the life of a young person.
And my favorite part of that episode is when we made that brown-black connection about being loud at graduation. I was like, that's some coalition building right there.
Yes.
Come with our blowhorns. Oh, yeah. Now, what about any feedback that you all might have gotten from others? Any impact or anything that stood out for folks on the audience end? Did you all get some feedback?
Oh, yeah. In addition to the critique from my son, I got, girl, you need to listen to more music. Which I am going to do that. Right. I need to get some music in my life, so that I'm taking that up.
Yeah. I heard it was for a couple episodes. So we mentioned Asia's. That one, I had a couple colleagues that had some similar experiences going through their doctorate programs as well, saying that one, it was nice to hear someone validate a similar experience. I also received a lot of feedback on our first episode that we did, which was our letter to our 7th grade selves. And I think some folks enjoyed for themselves reflecting on that and say, what would I tell my own self? And so that was kind of neat that folks found themselves doing that for themselves while they were listening to the podcast.
Yeah, same here. And just learning about who we were as 7th graders was, that's kind of funny. For others that know you now.
I still got a lot of 7th grade in me. Yeah. That's what I really learned about that piece, was just like listening to myself manage my anger, right? That's something, I'm an angry Black woman. And how that has always been a part of me, and how it's important for me to make that constructive today, not to dampen it, but to make it serve me and serve my community.
Yeah.
In a helpful way.
Now, there was one episode, I think we all were not quite sure how it was going to go, and that was the advocating for social justice as a white woman.
Yeah, you guys were scared.
Like, are the questions going to land right? What should we add? Do we not ask that? Like, because it's one of those still touchy subjects, right? You don't want to offend, and
we could get in trouble if it doesn't go right.
I know.
That was a dangerous episode.
It was, but
how to keep it authentic with how to keep that real.
Yes, that featured Tia Anzalotti and Jamie Hampton, and I honestly thought, kudos to these brave white women who were willing to take a risk with us.
Yeah, they were scared too. Yeah.
We had some tech issues that day. We had to default to Zoom because it just, they were not in the studio and it just didn't work as originally planned. But we got through it. It was a really good conversation, and I appreciated them being open.
Yeah.
Because that, I know we're in that time now where sometimes I think our white colleagues and friends might feel like, I don't want to say something that's incorrect and set someone off. And so I appreciated them being open. I thought that's the first step. I just asked that you be open to learning something new, and it allowed me to learn something from them too. So I enjoyed that one, but that one I think I was the most nervous about, not quite sure how it was going to flow, and I loved in the end how it turned out.
So I think that was one of my favorite ones, because that's something that we do truly need a coalition around that. I mean, everybody got to do their part. And it's reassuring to know that there are legitimate co-conspirators out there, right, that are working their side, and we could come together. So that was one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, I appreciated the different tools that they gave, because when you think ally, some people think that it means the same 3 things, but it's like, no, it's above and beyond that. Like, how can you continue to advocate for someone, be a sponsor, and support their career journey above and beyond just the basic things that you hear about all the time.
Yeah.
Tinesia, you also invited one of your Detour program interns to join us. Yeah, so Paula Morgan joined us. What was it like for you to have Paula on the show with us?
I enjoyed it because I felt like she got the opportunity to share her story, which, from experience, being a college student, you feel lost in the sauce sometimes because everything is going so fast. You have class, you have work, she's got an internship, and then you have, family, and, you may get a party in here or there, but you have it's just so much stuff going on at the same time. And sometimes you can feel like, does anybody see me? And I felt like this podcast gave her the opportunity to be seen and to be heard. And we got the opportunity to feed into her professional growth and development by sharing our experiences with her as well. It was great. It was great for me because I am hoping that she took away with it something that she will remember, for the rest of her life. And hopefully she has more podcasts to come in the future. But just really being able to get to know her.
What struck me about her episode and Khadijah episode is at such a young age being committed to giving back. Both of them were really clear about that, really clear about their role as mentors and taking care of the girls that are coming behind them. I don't think I had that attitude at that age. I was about, let me get mine rather than, giving back. And that was incredibly impressive.
Yeah. And when Paula said that her parents' divorce really stuck with her so much so that she's studying social work now, that just goes to show how certain experiences can really last a lifetime.
Yeah.
They can have a lifelong effect on us, positive or negative. And so she's taken a negative and turned it into a positive.
Yes.
And I know a lot of us do that in our work every day.
Mm-hmm. Like you, I thought, well, how neat for them to have this recording.
Yeah.
Both her and Kasia, because they were in this transition in their lives where it's like big pivotal moments, right? You're leaving high school, going on to college. She'll be moving away from San Diego. And then Paula you're finishing school, going into a master's program, then really starting adulting. So it'd be neat to see, 10 years to have them reflect, to say, wow, who were you at that, 10 years ago stage in your life? And then now where are you? And did you hit those goals that you mentioned? And so I think what a cool gift really for them, right? That they'll have this that's archived in a way.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I had recommended to Kasia, if you can remember to journal.
Yeah.
Because usually, like you're saying, you get caught up in the sauce, so you're not going to maybe think to journal. But it's such a pivotal time in your life that if you just took out a few minutes every day or during the week, if you could, to go back to that story about yourself, to say, look at how much I've grown, and shoot, why am I giving myself a hard time? I've come far.
Yeah.
It's a really good archive to have.
Yes.
And so I think it's cool to be able to have that with audio for them.
And I bet your journals are really pretty journals. Because this is what I've learned about you this season. You are like a square. You just, the party, everything is pretty, and I can just see
in its place.
I like my label maker, I'm not going to lie.
See?
I'm an organizer at heart.
It wouldn't be like a steno pad. It would be a little cute journal that you put everything in, which is good.
Yeah. And so we had a variety of episodes. So folks, hopefully at this point, have heard all of them. They don't have to be in sequential order. But was there a particular episode that you all? I know we talked about maybe being nervous around some, but were there any that were more difficult than others?
I don't know, more difficult.
Well, yeah, Rosa's episode around sexual abuse.
Yeah.
That one was hard for me because it's not something that I talk about out loud often or at all, but it's a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm glad that we did the episode because people need to hear it and people need to, process their own healing and continue that journey.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one for me was.
I had a knot in my
difficult.
stomach the whole time.
Yeah, that was tough. And and she was so brave.
She was.
She was really brave.
Well, so were the two of you. It's just so. I didn't realize, Tinesia, I didn't know that about you. Janedra you had shared with us earlier on that could be something that comes up in the episode. So, that's why I had this knot. And when I drove home that day, I thought, wow, like these are like 2 and 3 women, because I got to really admire Rosa for her bravery. But I thought, it just, I guess I wasn't expecting to feel the way that I did. But when I heard you both share, we're sitting here with mics and a headset on it, and part of me is like, oh, I want to stop. I wanted to stop it and just say, like,
and love on us.
Yes, I did. And so it felt so unnatural. I was like, do we break the podcast? And so anyway, I appreciate both of you. And Rosa, if you're hearing, I appreciate you sharing that. And like she said, it hopefully can make a difference in someone else's life. So, but it was hard.
Yeah.
That one was a tough one.
One that was surprising to me was Margarita's. because, I had worked with her before, and I knew what an incredible subject matter expert she was on promotores and community health workers. But that conversation just kind of took a shift into her personal story. And she's no joke, where she's come from, where she's overcame the choices she made for herself. And it just, and I didn't think it was possible, but it just deepened my respect for her work and the work that she does.
And that's episode 9, Self-Determination is Real, if you want to go back and listen to that one. I enjoyed her. I enjoyed all the guests, but I enjoyed her just being real, and you can tell her passion for wanting to make a difference in the community. And I thought, she's got this magical formula because her heart really is in it. Yeah, it is. And I know the work of the Promotoras model and the impact it has. So it just to kind of see someone of that's on the back end that really was responsible for helping to elevate and create something like that was really cool. I enjoyed her quite a bit. What about
the wealth is in the community?
Yeah. It is.
All we're doing is bringing them out and having them join us, right?
Yeah.
So what about lessons learned for you all, and myself included? Anything that you learned about yourself or that surprised you in the journey at all? And I threw that one in there. It was not on our list of preset questions, so I'm pulling the counselor move, throwing a curveball. Anything that surprised you or lessons of growth for ourselves?
I'm going back to one step at a time, because that's how we got to where we are today. And sometimes our dreams seem so huge, so large, so impossible, so far out of reach, because you think about it all at one time. But if you say, I want to start a podcast, and then you say, well, where can I record it at? And then you get the answer to that. And then, okay, so what's the next step? And then the next step, and then the next step. And go about it one step at a time, then it doesn't become so overwhelming. And then at the end of it all, you've accomplished something great that seems so overwhelming
in the beginning.
And they say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time? So that is something that it's a great reminder, especially because I've been in the line of, I've been doing Detour for 13 years, working for 14 years at the company that I'm employed with. And sometimes you forget that you still have the power to achieve the dreams that you've set for yourself, the goals that you've set for yourself, because you've been doing the same thing day in and day out on a fundamental level. And then, knowing that, hey, you can still venture into something new and make that thing work,
And that you don't have to be the celebrity with all of this financial backing to end up on Apple Podcasts. Right? True. We found a way. And you know what? So shout out again to the California Commission on the Status of Women and Girls, and Tiffany and Kimberly, who joined us on episode 13. So thank you so much for taking a chance on this project, right? Because it takes funders like that to say, hey, if we just give them some seed money, let's see where this goes. And so that was great that they were able to support us in this first season.
And I would add, for me, is, now I'm going to cry like Gabby, is how important it is to make the journey with people you have fun with. Because we've laughed a lot. Yes. And I would watch us, and in our most tense moments, we would start laughing about something. How important it is to have joy in this work. Because we're dealing with some difficult subjects and communities that need a lot. And it's this journey with the two of you has helped me understand that term, being a happy warrior, much better. So I thank the both of you for that.
Thank you.
We're trying to make Gabby cry.
Hey, for the record, I'm doing pretty well. But that's a interesting, not interesting, that's a really valid point, Janedra, because I always think sometimes our sisters, our girlfriends don't have what we have. Like we bonded and we have chemistry and we support each other and we call each other and we text like, oh, this happened here outside of the podcast world, right?
Yeah.
But how many of our women colleagues trying to figure out the world right now don't have that?
They don't have that support system. Yeah.
And I think, one of our next questions is what's in store for season 2 and what's the wish for the podcast moving forward? And for me, that is my wish, is that we can become, the nucleus to their support circle, and that they can utilize our conversations to start conversations amongst themselves and develop and cultivate relationships that are really going to nourish their growth and development. Because everybody needs, a key, a good key.
Yeah.
So, it's important for us to have these spaces where we can let loose, be authentic, just be ourselves, and not have to filter, who we're being or what we're saying at any given time.
And to build on the word spaces, brought up the episode with Addie, the librarian. Because
Love her.
Her attitude of an intention to make that library a safe, inclusive place where people feel like they belong was just so cool.
Yeah, I love chatting with her for that episode. I left so happy that day. I just thought, and again, I shared that story about my dad and having
the VHS.
library card. That was her thing.
Yeah.
And so I thought, gosh, Addie's doing this every day for families and students who might trickle in to use the library. And so that was and I started cracking up when she talked about the fees and how, please don't let that stop you from coming back. We will waive the fees. And I thought, she's removing a barrier.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we were like, really?
Yeah, right. Because we didn't know. Okay.
Good to know.
Right.
Yeah. And she does such great programming that's offered through the library. I got to actually last week I participated via Zoom, but they had a wonderful keynote speaker, and she shared a little bit about her life story and her journey. And so they'll host different events like that on a regular basis. So just to partake in a little sampling of what she was talking about. So it was great. It was great.
Yeah.
So season 2, at this moment in time, is to be determined with an actual launch date, because we're waiting for securing some funding for us to come through. We are hopeful that will happen, but we do have some things in store. So we will be offering some, we're looking at possibly a 90-minute free session to launch in September of 2023, where we recap in a very high-level way some of the topics that are actually covered in the podcast. So there's a variety. So we covered issues such as trauma, community health, understanding the importance of supportive systems. We covered relationships and the importance that they have in our lives and our success. We talked about including parents in the conversation, navigating different transitions in our lives. So we're really going to dive deeper into some of these topics, but we're going to launch this through just an initial kind of join us conversation that will be offered via Zoom. So anyone listening today can partake in that. So we wanted to remove that barrier of having it to be in person.
And so for you guys to track that, join us on LinkedIn. The All About Girls of Color Collective, we have a LinkedIn post, and so we'll be giving updates about what we're doing going forward. So connect with us on LinkedIn and also subscribe with us on YouTube, because we'll be able to make announcements that way as well.
And I believe we are also on Instagram.
Oh, yeah, we are.
And so see, that was like the biggest aha for me, honestly, because I don't really do social media, and so I did struggle with what? I got it. What?
Where can we find you?
Where the F is this
button?
That's a good question. Well, when they asked us to do it, TikTok, we thought, huh? You what?
Yeah.
So I appreciate being challenged in that. I would much rather have an intern with that skill set to help us in that aspect. So if anyone's interested in an internship who has that skill set, please reach out to us.
Yeah.
But so that was a big takeaway for me. The most that I have ever posted on LinkedIn has been because of the podcast. And I literally hit repost after Janedra.
Yes, same here. Thank you.
I was like, I can hit repost. Thank you, LinkedIn, for making that an option.
Yeah.
I can recognize my strengths and I can recognize where there's room for growth. That is a room for growth area. So I'll have this 90-minute session. Again, that will be a free of cost, but we want to have a conversation with the community, highlight at a high level some of these topics that keep coming. One thing we found with the podcast is that there are common denominators. There are re-emerging themes that continuously come up. And so we want to be able to highlight those. And
go deeper.
Yeah, go deeper. And so in that initial 90-minute session, we're not going to cover everything. It'll be a high-level conversation. Again, we're scratching the surface. And then it'll be followed with an invitation to have some participation in an ongoing professional development that we are all piecing together that we will offer. And so then moving forward, we'll make sure, again, like Janedra said, stay connected so that you can receive that via email on our listservs or look out for one of those posts on our social media outlets. So that's what's in store for us. It's not the end of recording, but we are definitely wanting to enter phase 2 of this chapter, which includes getting a little bit deeper with all of you, again, covering some of those topics and giving us time to unpack in a different way. But we're going to use the podcast as a launch pad for that. So some of those prerequisites may include go back and listen to this episode because it'll connect. The topic and theme will connect to that conversation we're going to have. It'll include some strategies, resources that you can use if you're serving youth, and then also strategies and resources that you can use for yourself as a professional. So if you don't serve youth directly, that's okay. There's still topics and themes that connect to you as a woman. And so we want you to join us on that next journey. So stay connected, and we'll definitely keep you posted on that.
Yeah. We also have a website, allaboutgirlsofcolor.com. So
look at you.
We hope to add our updates there as well.
Yeah.
Any last parting thoughts or words as we close out season 1?
This has been fabulous. And I think about our tagline often, all about girls of color and the women they become. And it's really reinforced for me that we can't give what we don't have. And if we really want to support girls of color, we got to take care of ourselves. So we have something to give. So we're not dead beside the road. On that happy note, Tinesia.
I am hearing in this moment, your pain is someone's medicine.
Wow.
So that is what I will leave us with here for season 1. Everything that you've gone through is definitely for a reason and definitely can benefit someone else. And oftentimes we don't want to talk about the pain because it's painful, right?
Yeah, right.
But know that there's purpose behind the pain. There's people behind the pain. And once you're able to talk about it and get it out and start your healing process, those who are meant to come behind you will come behind you.
That's beautiful.
Well, on that note, I hate to say it, but that does it for us on another episode. I'm going to say this.
I was not expecting that.
To be continued.
To be continued.
To be continued. So thank you both for a beautiful process and journey of growth. And thank you to our listeners and families and friends that have supported us. And just thank you to everyone. I probably got more out of this than any listener probably got out of it. So I'm giddy when I think about it because I just think it's a really cool journey that is just starting.
Yeah.
So thank you to all of you and to all of our supporters. So for now, to be continued, but we will see you soon when we launch season 2. So for today, we're signing off as the official last episode of season 1 of the All About Girls of Color podcast. I'm Gabby.
I'm Tinesia.
I'm Janedra.
See you in season 2.
Blessings.
This podcast is made possible by the California Commission on the Status of Women and Girls. Additional sponsors include San Diego County Employees Charitable Organization. You can access all episodes and connect with us via email at allaboutgirlsofcolor.com.